Hello, I'm Shoestring Jane. Welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things thrifty, frugal and money saving. And today I'm actually going to talk about money making. Just some things that we personally have tried or looked into to make money from our spare room. So the spare room has been a lifeline over the years because it has provided a form of extra income in various ways. So I thought I would go through those. If you're in the UK, by the way, I don't know about anywhere else in the world, you need to check that out locally, but you can earn up to £7,500 tax-free every year from renting a room. The government has a rent a room scheme. So I suggest you check out gov.uk and see how much you would have to pay, if anything, if you were to rent out your room for some or all of the time. So here goes. So the first thing that we did that I found thoroughly enjoyable, actually, it was a really good experience. It was quite hard work for the money that you got, but that was to host foreign language students. We're lucky we are that we happen to have quite a large school that is, it's like a college really, that is specifically for students studying English as a second language. And they don't have accommodation there, they have a lot of courses, so they are always looking for host families to look after their students in the evenings and give them dinner, give them breakfast in the morning. For that particular school, you don't have to give them lunch. Some of them you do, some of them you have to provide a packed lunch. But that particular school, they have a cafe there, all the students can go out and get their own lunches. And they tend to be 16 years and up, which suited us because, you know, the idea of having very young children didn't really appeal. We didn't really want to do that. I mean, at the time when I started doing this, I was working full time as well, so I didn't have lots of spare time to be toing and froing, getting them from whatever events they'd gone to. And although you're not told you have to do that a lot of the time, you kind of feel obliged, especially as a parent myself. You know, if you feel like you're parentis in locis and you're looking after somebody else's child and responsible for their well-being. So we've gone really for the students 16 and over. Some of them have been adults. Some of the best ones, the most fun ones we had were French engineering students, which were all male, all sort of late 20s, and lovely. All of them were lovely. It's funny, we had about 2 or 3 from those groups. I think we had 3, and they were all lovely, and they all insisted on cooking us French food at some point during their stay, which was fantastic. So that was really nice. But we've met people from all around the world doing this. You know, Slovakia, we've had people from all parts of Eastern Europe. We've had Switzerland, Germany, France, Spain, just loads of different places. I can't remember exactly everywhere, but it's been so interesting to meet people and get to know their customs. And nearly all of our students were fun to be around. There was one boy who we had for 3 weeks, which was quite a long stay, who was a bit odd, but he was okay. I mean, he didn't give us any great grief. He was just a little odd, and none of us, we were glad when he went. And we had one long-term student, the first and only time we've ever done a long-term student, who was here for 6 months, and she was kind of tricky because she was in between being a lodger and being a student. So we were expected to provide her with meals, but she also wanted to just get on and do her own thing. So it didn't always kind of fit really. So that wasn't the best, and that's the only time we've done that. Although having said that, I've known other people to take long-term students and it's worked out very well for them. So you get paid about between, I think the lowest was about £120 a week and the highest was about £145 a week. That may have changed. It's been 3 or 4 years since we took a foreign student in. Obviously, there was not a lot going on over COVID. I believe that things are back and moving again now, so it's worth exploring this. And there are always various organisations looking for host families, and they're normally quite desperate for good host families, so it's worth looking at. You have to provide food, as I said. You have to eat with them. So this experience is to help them really immerse themselves in the English language, and they want to eat with you so that you can chat and talk over their day and help them out with any difficulties that they've had, and you can recommend things that they could go and see and that kind of thing. So and you ask them about themselves as well, and so you learn about their lives as well. You need to keep their room clean for them, change their sheets once a week, do their laundry, and just socialise really with them, as I say. So we've always found it I can't speak, rewarding and a kind of enriching experience. And we've made good friends, and we're still in contact with some of our students that we've had. We just had a little message from a 16-year-old French student who is now about 22, I think, this morning, asking us how things are going. So that's quite nice. The pros are that you get to meet interesting people throughout the world. You earn a little bit of extra cash. It's not really hard work. The cons, I would say, the ones that we've experienced have been around having students under the age of 18, which we have had a few times, and where they're pushing the boundaries a little bit. And although the hosting agency, the college or the organisation will always give you good backup, we always tried to deal with it ourselves initially, and it never really became a massive problem. But you need to set some very clear boundaries before they come in, I think, and say, you have to be in, and normally the host organisation will have rules and say they have to be in by 10:30 if they're under 18 during the week, and maybe 11 o'clock at the weekend, but only if their parents have given permission for them to go out in the evening, and some parents haven't. So you have to be very strict on that and make it very clear. And it's not always easy if their language skills are limited. So Google Translate could be good, but you need to try and explain to them. They have it all written down, and they should have discussed it with their parents before they come anyway. But we had a few that have really pushed the boundaries. We had one very sparky 16-year-old who arrived. I mean, she came all the way from Slovakia just with her 16-year-old friend by bus. So she was a confident girl, and she really pushed the boundaries. Like, can I just stay out a bit later? Can I stay out a bit later? I think one night we let her, said, okay, you can stay out till 11:30, because all of her friends were apparently. And it ended up, 12:30 she wasn't back, and I was texting her saying, where are you? She ended up coming back at 3 a.m. and I was not happy, because, I'd be cross with my own girls for doing that to me, and they wouldn't do that to me. So I was not happy, and that's something we had to report to the organisation, as well as obviously telling her that wasn't acceptable. It's kind of awkward because they're staying with you, and but you have to be strict, because what would happen if she'd disappeared? And she was loving having a bit of freedom. I get the impression that her particular family were quite they allowed her quite a lot of freedom, more than I would have for a 16-year-old anyway. But we had another one who went out on the Monday she arrived, and that was fine. We said she had permission to go out. And when she came back, she was later than she should have been. So it was about 11:30, midnight, I think. So that wasn't a good start. And then she proceeded to just throw up all night in the bathroom and not go to college the next day because she felt really ill. And she said that her drink was spiked. And I don't know if that was true or not, but again, it's just a worry that you just don't need. So there are things like that, and you do have to be aware that those things can happen. If they do, you need to be speaking to your contact at your host exchange agency, whoever it is. But the thing is really just to be very, very clear. And we did learn this as we went along. We said, these are the rules. We expect you to stick to these rules, and we won't tolerate it if you don't. So if you say that straight away, it's done. We had one funny thing that happened once where it wasn't the school that's here, it was a different organisation, and they bussed people in, and they tended to be younger students. But we always asked for a 16-year-old, because again, I was working, I didn't want to be worrying about a youngster coming back maybe before me and being by themselves in the house and that kind of thing, and me not knowing whether they were back or not. So I said, well, I'll take a 16-year-old. And then we went to collect her, and they called out her name, Camille, and said she was to come with us, and she came with us, and we took her home. And I thought, well, she looks very young for 16. And we asked her how old she was, and her English wasn't very good, and she said 21. And I thought, well, I'm sure that's not right. So we got her back, and she was very sweet, and she had a shower, and she was in her pyjamas, and we'd shown her her room and given her her dinner. And then we got a call from the agency to say, you've got the wrong Camille. And we'd taken a 12-year-old Camille, and the 16-year-old Camille had gone with another family by mistake, because she hadn't heard when her name was called, and our little one had. And they said, oh, we'll pop over and we'll change her. And I thought, I can't do that now. She's absolutely ready for bed, and she's settled in, and she's only 12, and she's had to see, meet us for the first time, and I just couldn't do it. So I said, it's fine, we'll keep her. And we the next day I'd already arranged to go into work late anyway, so I could make sure she got to where she had to go to study, and I then made sure I was back in time to meet her in town and show her the bus back so she would know. And we had a few little bits where she struggled to find the bus in the morning, and she phoned me and we had these terrible conversations because she could barely speak any English and my French was extremely rusty. So but it was good. And by the end of a couple of days, she'd found she could get to school and back, and she was very good, and obviously didn't go out in the evenings or anything. She was very sweet, and her English improved so much, and we only had her for a week. It improved hugely in a week, but it did make me think again, no, I really don't want anyone that young again. But hosting language students, I would recommend it. I think it's also great if you're at home with children, because they love it. Your kids, we met some other host families with children, and they made friends with the students that came, and they all loved it, and they did things together. When my youngest daughter was still here, and she was 17, we had an Italian student who was the same age, and she spoke very good English. She was a very clever girl, and they made great friends, and they're still in touch now. And my daughter is now 24, so they still stay in touch. She came back to see us twice more after that initial visit, and obviously we didn't charge her because she'd become a friend, and she was a lovely, lovely girl. And they bonded over just pop and Harry Potter, really. One Direction, I think it was, they bonded over, and Harry Potter. And that's lovely. It's a great experience for your children as well. So I would say if you've got your children have a bedroom each and you want to make some extra money, you could from time to time shove your kids in one bedroom and use the other bedroom to make some money. And we have done that once as well when they were younger. So hosting English students, that's a good way to make money from your spare room. So after a few years of hosting language students who came for mostly 1 to 3 weeks at a time, apart from that one we had it for 6 months, we decided that we didn't really want the tie of having to be here for dinner and give them their food and make their packed lunches and all that kind of thing. So we decided to explore renting the spare room out permanently or full-time as to a lodger. So we advertised on spareroom.com, and we have tried a couple of other sites, but spareroom.com seems to be the best one. You seem to get the most people and most interest from that. And you have to look around in your local area and see what other people are charging for similar rooms and set your rates accordingly. The room obviously has to be clean, and you've got to give them access to your bathroom. For us, we don't provide food or anything, so they have access to the kitchen. We make a space in the fridge and we give them their own food cupboard, and sometimes we're all in the kitchen together cooking. We tend to try and get up each other's way, and you find each other's routines. So, for me, I work from home, so I can work around them. So if I know that one of them gets up really early and goes in the bathroom really early, then I'll keep out of the way. So I can do that. But you work that out. It's easy enough to work it out. And the good thing about that is that it's a steady income. So it's going to be a monthly income. Although they come and go. We have them stay maybe from 6 months. I think the longest one stayed for a couple of years. But again, we've met some lovely, interesting people. And again, set your own rules. For us, when we started doing this, my youngest daughter, was still living at home. She hadn't gone to university yet. She's now left university and has got her own place. But we didn't feel comfortable having a man in the house lodging with us. So we just said females only. Now, theoretically, you can't say that on Spare Room now. So you can say female preferred, but you can't say females only. But really, you live in the house. So the way I look at it is I live in the house. I'm not going to have a man come to live with me. I don't want to live with a man, so that's my choice. But I think legally you're not allowed to say that. But people know if you don't want a man, they'll respect that and accept it. You get the chance to meet them. They come round. We had lots of people come round, and you think, nah, we're not going to get on, and you know that you're not. So luckily, I think they always know as well, because I've never had somebody want the room and I've had to say no, apart from one young lady who asked if she could get a double bed in the room and could her boyfriend stay over every weekend, and I said no, because I don't want that. That's another rule. We say, it's your room, but we don't want boyfriends staying here. And in fact, we did have one lodger who was a student at the university, and she was great. We became friends with her, and she had a boyfriend who she didn't see very often because they were both doing different things in different parts of the world. And when he came to stay, about 3 times during the year she was here, we allowed him to stay, and we got to know him as well, and that was fine. But she asked, and it wasn't awkward. It was, you set your own parameters, because in the end it's not like a shared house. If you have a shared house the landlord doesn't live in, you can probably do what you want. You will share the bathroom, you share the kitchen, whatever. This is a family house, and it doesn't appeal to everybody because of that. But then certain people it really does appeal to. And we've had a lot of foreign students rather from the university who are doing maybe a master's or whatever, and they want a homely sort of place to stay, so that suits them. And our current one is a zookeeper at our zoo, and she's come over from New Zealand. She's going to be here a year or so because she wants to, work abroad, and she'll go and do some travelling in Europe and that kind of thing. And we've always got on very, very well. We've been very, very lucky. But if you don't get on with the people that have come to live with you, you have the power. It's not like you have a little tenancy agreement. I use the spare room one, but you don't have to live with someone who's giving you grief in your own home. There are different rules to if you were a landlord, a live-out landlord. I think you don't even have to give them much notice. I think you can just ask them to go, but I've never had to do that. It's never been a problem. But again, if you look at gov.uk, it gives you all of those rules and tells you what you have to do. So that's another thing that we do, and I'd say it's my favourite way to make money from our spare room so far. Another well-known way to make money from your spare room, of course, is Airbnb. And when it first started, it seemed to be just people renting out a room in their house and giving people breakfast, rather than the professional bed and breakfast type places. Or now I think there are a lot of businesses that own a lot of properties that are just holiday properties, holiday lets, and they let them out exclusively for Airbnb people. But there are still some, and we've used them before. We had a lovely one in Anglesey actually, which was £30 for the night for both of us, just for a double bed and a bowl of cereal in the morning. It was very basic, but who cares for £30? There are still some people that will do that with their spare room, and they'll give you breakfast, and it's not their job, but they make a bit of extra cash from it. So that's worth considering as well if you don't want people there all the time. And it's good if you live near an airport, or if you live in a really tourist area, then you can just pick and choose. You can vet people. I know people that actually do it themselves, and they always vet their guests beforehand and make sure that they have got some reviews and that kind of thing before they take them in. Some people say no children, others say no pets. Obviously you can make those decisions and those choices, so that's worth considering as well. It's not something I can talk about in depth because I haven't done it myself, but it's something we did consider, decided that it wasn't really for us because we didn't think we were in the right area, and we wanted a more sort of consistent income, so it didn't work for us. And the final suggestion is more of a career choice. It's not just about letting out your room, and that is to see if your local social services department has a supported lodging scheme. I really had some conversations with our supported lodging team, but I was still working full time. Again, I didn't think it would be the right thing for us at the time, and now I just don't think I could cope with teenagers again. But that's what it is basically, is teenagers leaving care. They get to a certain stage, 18, and they come out of foster care or some other form of local authority care, and they need help just to kind of settle them into work or college, and it is a supported situation. So you're not just giving them bed and board. You receive full training, and you might need help with some of their behavioural issues, and give them some aid in job hunting and just general support, really. So you're acting as a kind of host, almost like a foster family, but it's not full-blown fostering. So that is worth considering if you think actually you're up for a real challenge. The money is much more generous than just having, as you would imagine it would be, than just having students into your home, but it's a big responsibility. So it's something that you would need to look at very carefully and make sure it suited your household before you did that, because it's a commitment. But it's also a really worthwhile thing. I think if I'd found out about it at a point where I wasn't working full time, if I could have had more time at home, I would really have seriously considered doing that. So that's something to think about. It's just an extra way of making income, but you wouldn't be just doing that for the money. I'd say you're doing that because you want to make a difference to someone's life. That's a bit more of a challenge, as I say. So, have you found any other ways to make money from your spare room? What do you do? A lot of people have asked me about how it works with my lodger, which is why I thought to do this video, and asking me if we give her meals and that kind of thing. So I hope this has explained how it works and the different things that we've done. And if you don't want somebody all the time, I've given you some ideas for how you can earn money from your spare room some of the time. So anyway, if you enjoyed this content, you like this kind of content, please do subscribe, give me the thumbs up. And if you turn on your notifications bell, you'll find out when I'm going to publish something next time. Bye for now.